Hey y'all, so I am in my car. My mom's gonna fuss at me for doing it this way, but I wanted to tell my testimony, and one of the turning points in my relationship with God happened in a car while I was driving, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to tell my testimony while I'm driving. So I was saved when I was a little girl, like 7 years old, and it's like God, church, all of it, ministry was such an ingrained part of my life for like before I can even remember. I was at church every time the doors were open and a part of every program in church and all that kind of stuff. And it was very important to me. It's like I honestly didn't know what my life looked like without ministry. And so whenever I went to college, I kind of I didn't step back from ministry, but I was like new to the area, new to the church, and I just didn't even really know how to slip in, and I kept trying at certain points and nothing stuck, nothing felt like where I was needed, all that kind of stuff. And so ministry really wasn't a part of my life for about a year or two, and it's a year, and I kind of felt a little lost without it, and I remember things just seemed harder without that constant ministry in my life and that constant feeding. And so I was working at a movie theater, and I remember this guy was like a raging atheist. It's like he was so angry at God and angry at the notion of God, and he asked me questions about God. It's like, oh, if God is real, why this and that, and I was terrified by the fact that I didn't know the answer to his questions. I had no answers for him. And through that, it kind of creeped up on me one night after work that I myself had doubts. Not that there was a God. There being a God has always made sense to me. But I was like, how did I know that Jesus was the one true God? How did I know that I'm not following the wrong one? Or if any of the ones we know are the right one, how do we know? So I got in my car after work, and I was just, it struck me for the first and only time in my life. I was like, if I died right now on the way home, would I go to heaven? And I didn't know the answer for sure to that question, because I wasn't 100% sure I was following the right God, or that my beliefs were correct. And so I was crying my eyes out, driving on that old North Carolina road, and I was terrified. And I just cried out to God, like audibly, like not in my head, but like out loud in the car by myself. I said, God, I want to know who you are, and I need to know, are you Jesus? Are you the one God that I've been serving my whole life? Are you him? And instinctively I turned on the radio, and it was Christmas time. This was like a couple of days before Christmas, so Christmas music was everywhere. I didn't have much hope that I would hear something that would answer my question, but I turned on the radio, and the first song that came on was a song called Beautiful by Mercy Me. And I had heard this song off and on several times, and I'd heard this song off and on several times, and but I never really paid attention to the lyrics. And basically how the song goes is I heard one of the first sentences from the song that I heard was, you are more than your doubts, because the verses kind of say you are more than this, you are more than that, and all this stuff. And I was just like, I just held on to those words, you are more than your doubts. I loved that. I was like, God was like telling me that I had value. And then the chorus just basically says over and over again, you're beautiful. And I was floored. I was like, God, I basically sat here and told you that I doubted your existence, that I've been saying I've believed in you and saying I follow you for like 15 years, and yet I'm not convinced that you're real. Well, no, at this point it was more like 10 or 12 years. But and I'm saying that like I don't know if you're real, and that's so disingenuous, like to be saying, oh, I believe in God, but there's always been these doubts in the back of my mind. So I really held on to those words, you're more than your doubts, you're beautiful. And then the bridge comes on, and it says that, before you were born, I loved you enough to die. And, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, God just told you. He told you who you are, and then he told me who he was. And I pulled over the car because I was crying so hard I couldn't see the road. And I was amazed, and it changed my life, because from that point on, you know, and I think everybody has sneaking doubts. You know, you doubt that you're a good mom. You doubt that you're doing good at your job. You doubt that this person loves you the way they say they do, all that kind of stuff. And so, but ever since that day, I've never doubted who God was, because he told me. And it wasn't until a while, and like, you know, I looked up the lyrics when I got home, glanced over them super fast, and I wrote down the bridge in my journal. I remember that part. And then I journaled, you know, like what God had said to me that night in that car. And, well, and you know, after that, I began actively seeking proof that God is real. I began seeking, you know, evidence that I could share with others, and I've never found any evidence that disproves God, and I found so much evidence that does prove God, and my faith has just grown stronger and stronger over time. And so it was like not that long ago, it was like this year, I was thinking about that song again and just saying those words in my head, you know, you are more than your doubts. And I wanted to write down the whole song in my journal, because I was remembering, since I just passed the anniversary of that time in my life. And when I opened up the lyrics on YouTube, I started writing, and the words, "You're more than your doubts," wasn't in the song. Nowhere in that song does it say "you're more than your doubts." And I played the song on YouTube, and I listened to the lyrics, and I was like, oh my gosh, those words aren't in the song. So somehow, I don't know how God did it, if he just changed the words as it entered my ears, or if he changed on the radio. Maybe thousands of people heard the lyrics wrong that night. I don't know. But I know that what I heard, because I repeated that words over and over in my head for years afterwards. But those lyrics aren't in the song. And I never knew that God did that for me. You know, that miracle that God did for me, to reach out just to me, and maybe others too, but in my car, I was the only person in the car, I was the only person listening, and God knew that my biggest struggle was that word doubt. And yeah, it blew my mind. And I just want to encourage any of you who are searching for God, or angry at God, or even if you're just having those little doubts in your mind, reach out to him right now. Don't wait. Do it right now. And ask him to show you who he is. Because why would a God who loves you so much be completely silent? And if you really are earnest and you do really want to hear him, he will speak out to you. And maybe that's going to be through a person, through a song, but ask him and wait to see for what he will do. Because I'm telling you that God is real, and he is active, and he is living, and he is good, and he loves you so, so much, and he is waiting for the opportunity for you to have an open heart and open eyes to hear him. And I know this without a shadow of doubt in my mind. And if you would like, please message me. Let me be on the journey too. Let me celebrate with you when he does show you who he is, because he's going to, because he's alive and he's real, and he wants to reach out to you. So all that's left, all that's waiting, the only piece left in the puzzle is for you to extend a hand, because his is already there. His is already there waiting for you. He was holding his hand out to me for a decade, more than a decade, because he knew that my heart wasn't really there. He knew that I was going through the motions. He knew about all those doubts, and he was just waiting. He's like, ask me to prove myself, Abby. Ask me to prove myself. And he did, with a miracle, something that's impossible for anybody else to have done. I mean, this wasn't a special version of the song. It was the radio edition that I've been hearing over and over and over again. God inserted that one word that I needed. Nobody else in that car needed it. It was me. So I would love to hear about your journey, about how God used miracles to open your doors and open your heart. So have a great day.